As a motorcyclist, I'm open to pretty much anything fun on two wheels, and so this is the Windone E2, and it costs under $1,000. Can an e-bike at this price point really handle dirt and gravel, trails and paths, as well as roads for commuting through the city? And does it make sense to add one to your garage for either yourself or maybe someone else in the family? That's what we're going to be looking at in today's video. Hey guys, so while I was editing the video, I realized I forgot to tell you that I did not pay the $1,000 for this bike. Windone did send it to me for free. They're not paying me, or they have no control, and they won't see what goes in the video until it's actually published, so they don't see it before you see it. You will also see later on in this video, for every pro I have about this thing, I also have one con. So I think I've tried to maintain the absolute most unbiasedness, if that's a word, it's a word, the most unbiasedness possible. Bad English, on with the show. I took the E2 on gravel paths, grassy fields, light dirt trails, some fairly uneven, rooty sections. The combination of the dual suspension and the 4-inch wide tire was really a winning duo in a lot of, but not all, scenarios. Grass was absolutely nothing to the E2, neither was the mud I accidentally found myself riding through and spraying my back. Tires say inflate to 20 PSI max, so I inflated them to 18 PSI, and there are parts of the trails that I take that have loose, thick gravel, thin gravel, sand, and on my other bikes, even with fatter tires, these parts of the trails have always felt a little bit like sketchy, a little bit like, okay, I'm not completely in control here. On this thing was a very different story. On the E2, everything just feels stable and planted. I can't say that the suspension feels like it's soaking up the bumps, because it does feel like it's converting some of that energy into like bounciness. And when I did go slower, yeah, it wasn't so bouncy, but if I'm on a trail that I'm already super familiar with and I'm taking a bike out that I need to test out so I can review it, so I can give an honest opinion for you guys, you know I gotta push it a little bit, right? So when you're riding this thing, even quickly, you're never being jarred much. You are maybe definitely bouncing a bit. I was only really launched off my seat probably like twice over a few hours of riding off-road, so that's not bad. And again, that's totally fine if you aren't planning on like figuring out how to de-restrict this thing and going full throttle off-road and going over jumps and craziness. Like, if that's not your jam, you'll be just fine on this thing. Don't let me discourage you. Slowing down will give you more time to think less about what your tires are on, what surface you're on, and just think more about soaking in the environment around you, and that's kind of awesome. And you will have plenty of suspension on this bike right up until you start going over 3 or 4 inch roots going across your path. That's when the suspension starts to get a little bit overwhelmed on this bike. Once you're on the kind of trail you would typically only want a really good mountain bike on, the E2 suspension, it gets overwhelmed. The goofy ergonomics really don't help making it easier to steer. We'll talk about that more later. If you're only gonna be keeping this thing on pretty well-kept trails and paths, you will be just fine. You'll have a machine that makes everything feel easy, confident, fun, no problem. Just stay off the gnarly stuff, okay? Out of the trails and into the city, the next step is to take the Windone E2 on a mix of smooth bike lanes, neglected alleyway asphalt, potholes you can't avoid, and the occasional curb hop. Now, typically, the rougher the ride gets, the better a fat tire bike gets. But the opposite also holds true, so let's see how it does in the city. Right away, you will notice the dual suspension and the difference that it makes. There are some streets that just rattle my teeth when I'm on my bike with no suspension. When I'm on this bike, it's night and day difference. No real like jarring bumps. You will get some bounciness, but I'll take bounciness over that like head thrashing any day. City handling is a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, by motorcycle standards, of course it's nimble, it's so small, tight wheelbase, small tires compared to what motorcycles have. But compared to a bicycle, like this thing weighs 114 pounds, and compared to a bike, that's twice the weight. But on the other hand, your typical bicycle rolls on like 1 inch or 1.5 inch wide tires, weighs half as much. So the E2 might not be as sporty handling or quick to turn in, but when you're going over something sketchy, you'll be glad to be on this thing. The longest non-stop ride I ever took on it was 1 hour in one shot without getting off the seat. And I gotta tell you, my biggest complaint is the ergonomics. The seat is long, which is great because you can sit a little bit more forward, a little bit more back, lets you have a chance to stretch out your legs if you want to. That's awesome. However, the angle of the seat is sloped pretty forward, which tilts you forward. You also have a relatively low handlebar, which also tilts you forward. So you end up with a little bit more weight on your shoulders and on your palm of your hands than I typically would like. Now you could easily fix this by getting a handlebar riser that, unlike this one, has a little bit of like a rise to it. That could give you a couple more inches of relief. That's what most people would do. But we're not like most people, are we? No, we are motorcyclists. So I would probably go for something a little bit more like this, a little bit more old school. I probably wouldn't do chrome, which is what I happen to have in my garage. This is more of a beach style thing. You know, it's like a buckhorn handlebar. It's not really perfect for off-roading. Maybe something like this with less rise and more width is probably a better compromise. This is probably better. Any excuse to switch a handlebar, right? A handlebar swap, I think, will make everything comfortable from like the hips up, because the seat is pretty comfortable despite the slope. It's just, you're too bent in. So switch out your handlebar, you'll probably feel better. Here's the other issue though. From the waist down, from the peg to the seat is like 13 inches, okay? From the peg to your handlebar is like 19 inches. From the bottom of my foot to my knee is like 23, 24 inches. That means that my knee is coming way over my hip and way over my handlebar by a good few inches. That's why this thing sucks to pedal, because you are coming entirely too high up. So you might be asking, how tall is Adrian? I'm about 5'11" on a very good day. Really not that tall. Even if you're a couple inches smaller than me, your knees are still gonna be coming up past the handlebar. This thing really isn't made for pedaling, and that's okay. Like maybe if you're like 5'4", but you have a 34-inch seat height. That seat height is the same seat height as my BMW GS adventure bike, okay? If you're 5'4", you're probably not gonna wanna have a 34-inch seat. So just don't buy this bike if you wanna be pedaling a lot, but we'll get into who should and shouldn't buy this bike later on. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Getting going from a stop, the 750 watt peak motor feels great in the city. And if you're looking for a bike for your partner or your kid, I've had electric bikes in the past where the power was like really jerky. When you first give it throttle, it would just like start going really hard all of a sudden. This thing, the power delivery is really linear, really smooth. I just keep it in pedal assist level 2, and the throttle, super smooth, easy, love it, piece of cake. Okay, almost done here. Who should and shouldn't buy this bike? So first of all, you need to realize that when you get this bike, it's gonna come in this box. You gotta put it all together yourself. So the build quality and the just general robustness of the bike is gonna come down to you, the person installing it. So if you're somebody who's already subscribed to my channel, you watch lots of my how-to videos, you're probably very handy with the tools. You will have no issues with the robustness and how well put together this bike is, because you will put together and you know what you're doing. So yeah, and if you have watching this far, hit that like button for me. Even if you don't want to subscribe, hitting that like button would really support me, really mean a lot, and really help out me and my channel. So please do that. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. If you are looking for a fat tire e-bike that you can take on some access trails, secondary access roads, white trails, green trails, that includes grass, dirt, loose gravel, maybe even some blue trails slowly, buy a Windone E2. You won't regret it. But if you want a fat bike that you can really enjoy on blue trails, black trails, double diamond trails, do not get this bike. If you want an e-bike with suspension that will have you bouncing instead of thrashing, you can get this bike. If you want an e-bike with pro suspension, don't get this bike. Want an e-bike that will give you confidence going through trails and enjoying the kind of wooded space that you can't take your motorcycle on, so you can enjoy more of the outdoors without leaving your city? Yeah, get this bike. But if what you really want is an electric mountain bike or an electric dirt bike that you can throw through gnarly paths and over jumps, don't get this bike. If you want an e-bike that is capable of being a fun commuter, it's able to soak up imperfections in the roads, and capable of whatever you throw at it in the city, get this bike. If you want an e-bike that can also easily have cargo capacity to it for hauling food orders around, for apps or whatever, don't get this bike. If you want an e-bike capable of just getting you somewhere, wherever there is, you can get this bike. But if you want an e-bike that's going to encourage you to be healthy by pedaling to get there, do not get this bike. If you don't need more than 28 miles of range, absolutely get this bike. But if you do, don't get it. If you want something that you can take out on dry days and feel good about exploring the places that you normally wouldn't, definitely get this bike. But if you need something that you can rely on day in and out, rain or shine, don't get this bike. If you want something that is just as happy on-road as it is off-road, you can get this bike. But if you want something that is a great, great off-road bike or is a great, great on-road bike, don't get this bike. But do keep in mind, a great, great off-road bike or a great, great on-road bike comes at a great price typically, so we need to level set our expectations here. At this price point, for a new e-bike that makes riding in a variety of conditions pretty easy for under $1,000, I think this is a good deal. Because again, it's not perfect, right? I've already told you guys there are a few things that I can't wait to start messing around with on this bike, right? But are any of them major deal breakers? Probably not to the people that this bike is aimed at. I'm a motorcyclist in the city of Toronto. We have a ton of trails that gas-burning motorcycles are not allowed on, but this thing is. With something like this, you can get a full suspension fat tire e-bike without needing a huge investment, and I think that's pretty cool. So if you're looking for an e-bike that brings a lot of smiles for your dollar, that is versatile enough that it will let you take some cushiony, relaxed off-road trail riding and exploring, and at the same time also let you commute through downtown if you want to, you should probably consider the Windone E2. I think it's a good bang for your buck choice. So yeah, now I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the E2? Would you ride one? And if so, where? Or is there someone in your family you think it might be perfect for? Leave them down below. As always, I'm Adrian from YouMotorcycle. Thank you so much for watching. Ride safe, but have fun. If you haven't already, hit that like button for me, all right? Peace.